The vast hall of contemplation shimmered with the subdued luminescence of 1,000 stargem facets embedded within its colossal obsidian walls. Grand, ancient, and infused with the psychic resonance of countless deliberations spanning epochs, it hummed with an almost audible tension. At its heart, atop a dais of polished, living crystal that pulsed with the collective anxieties of the gathered, sat the conclave of unification. Their forms, diverse as the spiral arms of the galaxy itself, the crystalline, multi-limbed Xylos, the methane-breathing, tentacled Vakar, the stoic, six-eyed Xylian praetors were silhouetted against the swirling nebula projections that decorated the domed ceiling. Fear, cold and palpable, snaked through the chamber, coiling around the ancient stones and pressing down upon every participant. They had gathered not for celebration, nor for routine arbitration, but for an existential reckoning, spurred by the disappearance of the Remove, an exploratory vessel of the Xylian Dominion, and the subsequent, bewildering encounter with the entities now known, with hesitant apprehension, as humanity. Praetor Varkos, his multifaceted eyes swiveling slowly across the assembled representatives, initiated the proceedings, his voice a low, resonant thrum that seemed to vibrate the very molecular structure of the chamber. The data packets from the Remove ceased transmission at Galactic Coordinate 7 Alpha Delta 9. Subsequent surveillance drones, dispatched with all urgency, detected no debris, no energy signature consistent with standard planetary defenses, nor any indication of a catastrophic system failure. It simply vanished. And then a signal, a primary contact beacon originating from precisely the last known coordinates of our lost vessel. A signal of unprecedented design, emanating from a species entirely unknown to our accumulated stellar cartographies. A low murmur rippled through the hall. The Xylian praetors, usually paragons of stoic rationality, displayed subtle shifts in their intricate facial patterns, betraying an undercurrent of profound disquiet. The Vakar's tentacles, typically engaged in rhythmic, calming undulations, were stiff and coiled. A Xylos representative, its crystalline form usually a kaleidoscope of placid light, pulsed with an agitated crimson hue. This signal, continued Varkos, projecting holographic schematics of the cryptic data burst, was interpreted by our most advanced xenolinguists. It was not a plea for assistance. It was not a declaration of hostility. It was a greeting, a challenge, a complex series of mathematical progressions, astronomical charts, and what our algorithms identified as artistic representations. All of it delivered with an audacious confidence that defied all known protocols of first contact. And then they introduced themselves, the humans. Silence descended, heavy and suffocating. The name hung in the air, alien and disquieting. The initial reports had been dismissed as anomalous, a minor deviation in the vast, predictable tapestry of galactic life. But the disappearance of the Remove, a ship designed for deep space exploration and equipped with advanced defensive capabilities, had transformed anomaly into crisis. The Remove was not merely a vessel. It was a symbol of the Dominion's reach, a spearhead of exploration. Its loss without trace at the hands of an unknown species was an affront, a mystery, and a terrifying precedent. Their home system, designated Sol, is nestled within a previously uncharted nebula, Praetor Varkos continued, his voice adopting a deeper, more somber tone. Our reconnaissance probes, cloaked with the highest-tier stealth technology, managed to penetrate their outer system. The images they returned are confounding. Their primary world, Earth, is a biosphere of astonishing vitality, teeming with life. Their orbital infrastructure is robust, yet deceptively simple in its aesthetic. No overt weapon platforms were detected, no massive military arrays, yet the Remove vanished, without a trace. This suggests either a technology far beyond our current understanding, or a level of aggression so profound as to render conventional engagement entirely moot. Xyler, the senior Xylos ambassador, shifted, its crystalline segments grinding softly. Praetor Varkos, if no trace of the Remove was found, how can we be certain of their involvement? Could it not have been a localized stellar phenomenon, a spatial anomaly? Its voice, a complex melody of resonating tones, carried a tremor of unease. Varkos's primary ocular cluster focused on Xyler. Ambassador, the coordinates are precise. The primary contact signal originated from that exact point. Furthermore, our deep space analysis of the Sol system revealed an anomaly, a structure, unlike any natural formation, orbiting their third world. Its energy signature is faint, almost imperceptible, yet it matches a residual frequency detected at the Remove's law. Since known location, we hypothesize it is a capture field, or perhaps a processing facility. A collective intake of breath or its alien equivalent echoed through the chamber. The implication was stark. The remove had not been destroyed but taken. And for what purpose? This was not the act of a nascent species stumbling into galactic affairs. This spoke of intent, of capability, of a terrifying, unknown agenda. Vakar Elder Trax, its central mass undulating slowly, extended a slender tendril towards the holographic display of the Sol system. Preter, your analysis assumes hostility, yet you describe their initial communication as a greeting, a challenge. These are not synonymous with direct aggression in all cultures. We must consider the possibility of misunderstanding, of a profound cultural disconnect. To immediately assume the worst is to invite it. Trax's voice, a series of complex gurgles and clicks, was calm, yet underscored with the traditional Vakar emphasis on multi-perspective analysis. Varkos acknowledged the point with a slight inclination of his head. Elder Trax, your wisdom is noted. However, the nature of the challenge is itself concerning. It was not a request for dialogue, but an invitation to solve intricate mathematical puzzles, to decode philosophical treatises, to interpret complex artistic forms. It was presented as a test of intellect, a vetting process before any further engagement. This is not the behavior of a species seeking peaceful integration. It is the behavior of a species assessing potential rivals, or perhaps potential subordinates. The words struck a chord of apprehension. The conclave of unification had always operated on principles of mutual respect and careful diplomacy. The idea of a species dictating the terms of engagement, especially after such a profound act of disappearance, was deeply unsettling. The very fabric of galactic order, painstakingly woven over millennia, felt suddenly fragile. And what of our lost vessel? Xyler pressed, its crimson glow deepening. The crew of the Remove numbers 73 sentient beings. Their families demand answers. The Dominion demands retribution if they have been harmed. Retribution against an unknown variable, Trax countered, its tendrils contracting slightly. We have no data on their defensive capabilities, their military doctrine, their strategic objectives. To launch an offensive strike based on conjecture would be catastrophic. We risk inciting a conflict with a species that has demonstrated, at the very least, an unprecedented capacity for technological concealment and unforeseen capability. The debate raged for cycles. The Xylos, pragmatic and often aggressive in their protection of Dominion interests, argued for a show of force, a clear demonstration that the disappearance of the Remove would not go unpunished. The Vakar, ever cautious and analytical, advocated for further observation, for attempts at more conventional communication, for a deeper understanding before any decisive action. The Xylian Preters, as stewards of the conclave, found themselves caught between the conflicting impulses of their constituent species. The unknown represented not just a threat, but a profound philosophical challenge. Was the galaxy truly as understood as they believed? Had their centuries of technological and social evolution blinded them to other paths, other paradigms? Preter Varkos, after a prolonged period of silence, raised a multi-jointed limb, silencing the fractious debate. The consensus cannot be formed through emotion. We must proceed with logic, however unsettling the data. Our primary goal is the recovery of the Remove and its crew, or failing that, the acquisition of definitive knowledge regarding their fate. Our secondary goal is to understand humanity, to assess their true nature, and to determine their place within the galactic order. To rush to judgment is to court disaster. To remain inert is to invite further transgression. He paused, his ocular clusters focusing on the central projection, which now displayed a shimmering, artistic representation of a human face, decoded from their initial signal. It was a face of unexpected symmetry, yet contained a multitude of expressions that defied simple categorization. Curiosity, defiance, intelligence, and an unsettling calm seemed to reside within its lines. "We will dispatch a diplomatic mission," Varkos declared, his voice firm, echoing with the weight of the decision. "A single vessel, equipped with a comprehensive suite of defensive and evasive measures, but primarily designed for peaceful engagement. It will carry representatives from all major member species of the conclave, symbolizing our unity and our commitment to understanding. Its mission is to initiate formal contact, to demand answers regarding the Remove, and to gather as much intelligence as possible. This is not an act of aggression, but an act of calculated risk. We will observe, we will analyze, and we will be prepared for any eventuality." The chosen vessel, designated the Harbinger of Accord, was a marvel of combined galactic engineering. Its hull shimmered with an adaptive camouflage that could render it almost invisible to conventional sensors, its propulsion systems designed for silent, high-sublight travel, and its shields capable of withstanding energies typically reserved for stellar phenomena. A small, carefully selected crew of specialists from the Xylian Dominion, the Xylos Collective, and the Vakar Confederacy comprised its diplomatic and scientific complement. Among them was Kale, a young Xylian xenolinguist, whose keen mind had been instrumental in deciphering the initial human signal. As the Harbinger traversed the vast, stardusted void, Kale spent his cycles poring over every fragment of data salvaged from the remove's last moments, every deciphered nuance of the human greeting. The sheer audacity of their initial communication continued to puzzle him. It was not merely complex, it was layered. Beneath the mathematical proofs and astronomical charts, Kale detected a subtle, almost poetic quality, a philosophical undercurrent that hinted at a species deeply engaged with abstract thought. They presented themselves not as technological titans, but as intellectual peers or perhaps challengers. The Harbinger slipped through the outer reaches of the Sol system, its sensors sweeping the void with unprecedented precision. The data streamed into the command center, painting a vivid yet still perplexing picture. Humanity's technological footprint was undeniable: orbital habitats, deep space mining operations, and a robust network of FTL-capable vessels engaged in what appeared to be routine commerce. Yet there was no overt military presence, no massive dreadnoughts patrolling their borders, no fortified defensive platforms bristling with weaponry. The Xylian security chief, Praetor Jakar, a veteran of countless border skirmishes, found this absence deeply disturbing. "They are either incredibly naive," Jakar grumbled, his 6 eyes narrowed, "or incredibly arrogant, or worst of all, their true capabilities are so far beyond us that they see no need for such conventional displays of force." Kale, observing Jakar's reactions, felt a familiar tension tighten his own sensory clusters. He understood Jakar's apprehension. The Xylian Dominion's strategic philosophy was built upon clear demonstrations of power, upon overwhelming displays of force when necessary. The human approach, subtle and enigmatic, challenged every preconceived notion of galactic power dynamics. The Harbinger positioned itself at a precise, pre-calculated coordinate near the third planet, Earth, maintaining cloaking protocols. It was a risky maneuver, bringing them dangerously close to a potentially hostile species, but proximity was essential for effective communication and observation. After several tense cycles of preparation, Ambassador Leixar, a revered Xylos diplomat, initiated the primary contact sequence. "Greetings, entities designated humanity," Leixar's voice, filtered through universal translation protocols, resonated with stately gravity. "We are representatives of the Conclave of Unification, a multi-species alliance dedicated to peace and mutual understanding within this galaxy. We come seeking discourse and answers regarding the fate of our exploratory vessel, the Remove, and its crew, last detected in your vicinity." The response was immediate, yet not what any of them expected. Instead of a direct verbal reply, a complex data stream flooded their comms. It was not an attack nor a rejection. It was a series of images, perfectly rendered, depicting the interior of a sophisticated starship. And then a human figure. A female with an expression of calm intensity stood before a bank of controls. Behind her, a group of Xylian crew members, distinctly recognizable as the lost complement of the Remove, moved with purpose. They were not prisoners. They were interacting, collaborating. A collective gasp, or its alien equivalent, echoed through the Harbinger's bridge. Praetor Jakar's jaw equivalent dropped. Kale's sensory clusters pulsed with a mixture of disbelief and burgeoning understanding. The visuals showed Xylian engineers working alongside human technicians, their forms bending over consoles, their multi-jointed limbs and human hands moving with a synchronized rhythm. The Xylians appeared healthy, their energy signatures strong, their posture relaxed. They were not distressed, they were engaged. Then a human voice, calm and clear, resonated through their comms. "Greetings, Conclave of Unification. We are humanity. We anticipated your arrival. The vessel you refer to as the Remove and its crew are safe. They are currently assisting us in a matter of some urgency. We understand your concern. We apologize for the initial lack of clarity regarding their status. Circ. Umstances dictated a certain level of necessary preclusion." The phrase necessary preclusion hung in the air, a euphemism that simultaneously offered reassurance and deepened the mystery. Leixar, recovering his composure with practiced grace, responded, "We are relieved to learn of their well-being. However, your actions constituted an unprecedented act. The detention of an exploratory vessel without prior communication is a grave breach of interstellar protocol." The human voice, unwavering, replied, "We understand your perspective. Our actions were not taken lightly. They were a direct response to an unforeseen and rapidly developing existential threat to our home system. The remove, upon encountering this threat, was inadvertently drawn into its sphere of influence. We intervened. To explain the specifics would require extensive discourse. We propose a direct, in-person meeting. Our senior diplomat, Ambassador Evelyn Reed, will transmit coordinates for a secure rendezvous point. We assure you, our intentions are entirely peaceful and our hospitality unconditional." The shift was profound. From an unknown variable, a potential adversary, humanity had transformed into a complex, nuanced entity. They had taken the remove not, it seemed, out of malice but out of necessity. And now they offered dialogue, not confrontation. The tension on the Harbinger's bridge eased, replaced by a profound sense of anticipation. The humans were not what they had expected. They were different. The rendezvous point was not on Earth, nor in any established orbital habitat. It was a facility embedded within a massive asteroid, cloaked with the same subtle energy signature that had initially confounded the Conclave's probes. As the Harbinger docked, the sheer scale of the human infrastructure became apparent. This was not a primitive species. This was a civilization with a mastery of deep space construction and resource utilization that rivaled, and perhaps even surpassed, their own. Ambassador Leixar, accompanied by Praetor Jakar and Kale, stepped onto the docking ramp, their senses on high alert. The atmosphere within the asteroid facility was warm, breathable, and filled with a faint, clean scent unlike any they had encountered. The artificial gravity was calibrated for a variety of species, a subtle but significant detail that spoke of forethought and consideration. They were met by Ambassador Evelyn Reed, a human of poised demeanor and direct gaze. She was accompanied by a Xylian, a familiar face Kale recognized from the Remove's crew manifest, Commander Thraxus, the lost vessel's lead astrophysicist. Thraxus, his multifaceted eyes reflecting a strange calm, extended a limb in a gesture of greeting. "Ambassador Leixar, Praetor Jakar, Kale, it is good to see you, and to be able to communicate freely." Leixar, relief washing over him, replied, "Commander Thraxus, your well-being is a profound comfort. We have been greatly distressed by your disappearance." He then turned to Reed. "Ambassador Reed, your direct communication is appreciated. We seek a full explanation." Reed nodded, her expression unreadable. "Of course, please follow me. We have prepared a briefing chamber where we can discuss this matter with the gravity it deserves." The chamber was minimalist, yet elegant. A large holographic projector dominated the center, surrounded by comfortable seating adapted for various physiologies. As they settled, Reed began, her voice calm and measured. "The threat we referred to is not external. It is an internal phenomenon, a temporal anomaly, specifically a localized, self-contained space-time distortion that emerged within our solar system. It is a unique and catastrophic event, unlike anything previously documented by your conclave or by our own emerging understanding of cosmic mechanics." Kale, his xenolinguistic mind already racing, felt a jolt of alarm. Temporal anomalies were theoretical constructs, terrifying in their implications, but rarely, if ever, observed. To have one manifest within a sentient species, home system, was an unprecedented crisis. "This distortion," Reed continued, gesturing to a holographic projection that swirled with chaotic energies, "was not merely a localized event. It was a bleed, a rift. It began to pull in matter, energy, and critically temporal causality from our immediate vicinity. The remove, upon entering our system, unknowingly ventured too close to its outer event horizon. It was not attacked, it was snared." Commander Thraxus stepped forward, his voice steady. "Ambassador Reed speaks the truth. We were observing a localized stellar flare when our navigational systems began to fail. We experienced temporal acceleration, then deceleration, then complete navigational collapse. Our shields held, but our sensors became useless. We were adrift, cycling through disjointed moments in time, unable to communicate, unable to maneuver." Jakar's form stiffened, and humanity intervened. "Ed, how? Such an anomaly would defy conventional intervention." Reed's gaze met Jakar's. "Precisely. Conventional intervention was impossible. Our scientists working around the clock theorized that the anomaly was a byproduct of an immense, unstable energy fluctuation from a nascent, collapsing singularity at the galactic core. It was projected across vast distances, manifesting as a localized event. Our understanding of this phenomenon is still nascent, but we quickly realized that any attempt to directly disrupt it would risk expanding its influence, potentially devastating our entire system, or worse. A chill deeper than the void settled upon Kale. A collapsing singularity. The implications were staggering. This wasn't a localized squabble, this was a cosmic crisis. Our solution, Reed continued, was not to destroy the anomaly, but to contain it. We constructed this facility, the Chronos Containment Array, around the anomaly's nascent core. The capture field you detected was not designed to trap ships, but to stabilize the anomaly to prevent its expansion and to gradually, infinitesimally, reverse its localized temporal bleed. It is a process that requires immense, sustained energy and extremely precise temporal manipulation. She gestured to the surrounding asteroid walls, which now revealed subtle, pulsating energy conduits. The remove, caught within the anomaly's pull, was inadvertently stabilized by our containment field. Its crew, disoriented but unharmed, found themselves within our controlled temporal environment. Upon understanding their plight and the nature of the threat, they, with characteristic Xylian integrity, offered their expertise. Their ship, though damaged by the temporal fluxes, has proven invaluable. Its unique chronometric sensors are more sensitive than our own, providing critical data feedback for the containment process. We required their continued assistance. Hence, the necessary preclusion of full disclosure until we could establish a secure, neutral environment for proper communication. Commander Thraxis nodded gravely. Our ship systems, while robust, were not designed for such conditions. The human engineers have been extraordinary. Their capacity for adaptive problem-solving, their willingness to integrate our technological insights with their own. It is truly remarkable. We are not prisoners, ambassadors. We are collaborators in preventing a cosmic catastrophe. The revelation was a stunning blow to the conclave delegates. They had anticipated hostility, deception, or perhaps a profound misunderstanding. They had not anticipated a cosmic threat and humanity's seemingly impossible response. The entire premise of their initial fear, of their suspicion, dissolved into a new, far more profound understanding. Humanity was not merely advanced. They were operating on an entirely different scale of problem-solving. Praetor Jakar, usually unyielding, found himself speechless. The absence of traditional military displays suddenly made sense. When one is facing a temporal anomaly that could unravel the fabric of spacetime, conventional armaments are irrelevant. Leixar, recovering, spoke with a new reverence. This is an undertaking of unprecedented scope. To contain a singularity anomaly, it defies our current understanding of physics. Reed offered a faint, almost wistful smile. Our understanding is still evolving. We are learning daily. The universe is full of mysteries, and sometimes those mysteries arrive at your doorstep demanding an answer. We chose to answer it, not with weapons, but with intellect, ingenuity, and, frankly, a stubborn refusal to accept the inevitable. Kale, his mind reeling, looked at Reed, then at Thraxis. He saw not a species that sought to dominate, but a species that sought to solve. Their initial challenge, the mathematical puzzles, the philosophical treatises, it was not a test of submission, but a test of intellectual compatibility. They had sought to gauge the conclave's capacity for complex thought, for abstract problem-solving, before revealing the true, terrifying scope of their predicament. "And the vengeance?" Jakar asked, the question escaping him before he could properly formulate it, betraying the deeper, unspoken fears that had driven their mission. "The title of your communication, The Remove with Vengeance. What was its meaning?" Reed's expression shifted, a subtle tightening around her eyes, a shadow of something deeper passing through them. That. It was not intended as a threat to you, Praetor. It was a directive, a personal one. When Commander Thraxis explained the nomenclature of his vessel, the Remove, we understood its intent, to remove obstacles, to remove the unknown. We admired the ambition. When we realized the nature of the anomaly, and that it was feeding upon the latent temporal energies of a lost, ancient civilization, a precursor race whose technology, if uncontrolled, could amplify the anomaly to catastrophic levels, we realized our task. We were tasked with removing the anomaly, yes, but also with avenging the loss of that precursor civilization, whose remnant energy was being devoured. And in a smaller, more personal sense, Commander Thraxis and his crew, when they joined us, articulated their own deeply Xylian sense of purpose, to take this cosmic aberration, this profound wrong, and to turn it into a victory. To respond to existential threat with a powerful, overwhelming solution. To address the problem with vengeance against the forces that sought to unravel existence. The words resonated with a profound, almost primal power. This was not the simple vengeance of one faction against another. This was vengeance against cosmic indifference, against the very forces of entropy. Humanity, Leixar realized, was not just intelligent. They were fiercely, profoundly, ethically driven. Their calm exterior masked an unyielding will, a deep-seated determination to confront the impossible. The Conclave's delegates spent several more cycles within the Chronos containment array. They observed the collaboration between human and Xylian engineers, the intricate dance of temporal mechanics, the sheer scale of the project. They witnessed the dedication, the relentless pursuit of solutions, the willingness to push the boundaries of known physics. They saw humans and Xylians, two disparate species, united by a common, terrifying adversary. Kale spent hours with Commander Thraxis, absorbing his accounts, studying the integrated human-Xylian designs. He saw not merely technological prowess, but a profound cultural trait. Humans approached problems with an almost obsessive tenacity, a deep ethical framework that prioritized not just their own survival, but the very fabric of spacetime itself. They were willing to sacrifice, to innovate, to redefine what was possible, all to avert a larger catastrophe. The revelation of the precursor civilization, whose ancient, dormant energies were being consumed by the anomaly, added another layer of complexity. Humanity was not merely protecting its own. It was acting as a guardian, a custodian of cosmic history, preventing a second, more profound erasure. This explained the intricate philosophical and artistic elements of their initial greeting, a subtle signal that they were more than mere technologists. They were stewards of knowledge, protectors of the past, and architects of the future. When the harbinger of accord finally departed, the mood on board was dramatically altered. The initial fear and suspicion had been replaced by a profound respect, even awe. The Conclave had sent a delegation to confront a potential threat. They had discovered a species engaged in a desperate, heroic struggle against a cosmic force. Upon their return to the Hall of Contemplation, Ambassador Leixar addressed the Conclave. His voice, usually formal and measured, now carried a distinct resonance of emotion. Esteemed members of the Conclave, we went seeking answers, and we found a truth far more profound than any we could have imagined. Humanity is not a threat. They are a nascent civilization, yes, but one possessed of an ethical framework, a scientific ingenuity, and a sheer indomitable will that defies every preconceived notion of galactic development. They are confronting an existential threat, a temporal anomaly of galactic significance, and they are doing so with courage, with profound intellect, and with a deep reverence for the very fabric of existence. Praetor Jakar, standing beside Leixar, added his own unexpected testimony. I confess, my initial assessment was flawed. I saw only the absence of conventional military power, and I interpreted it as weakness or arrogance. I was profoundly mistaken. Their strength lies not in armaments, but in their capacity for adaptive innovation, their unwavering determination in the face of the impossible, and their deeply held ethical commitment to preserve, not just their own species, but the integrity of the universe itself. Commander Thraxis and his crew are not prisoners. They are honored collaborators in a task of cosmic importance. The Hall of Contemplation, which had once buzzed with fear and suspicion, now hummed with a different kind of energy, wonder, apprehension, and a burgeoning sense of collective responsibility. The Xylos, the Vakar, the Xylos, all species listened, their forms betraying a growing understanding. Humanity had not merely survived, they had transcended. Praetor Varkos, his ocular clusters fixed on the image of the Chronos containment array, now projected in the center of the hall, spoke with a gravity that transcended mere protocol. This revelation, it redefines our understanding of the universe. It necessitates a reevaluation of our priorities, our alliances, and our very purpose. We have discovered a species that, in its relative infancy, is shouldering a burden that could shatter the cosmos. We see. Cannot, in good conscience, remain observers. The Conclave debated for weeks, not in fear, but in earnest contemplation. The implications were immense. To fully support humanity would mean committing resources, expertise, and risking their own systems to a threat they barely understood. Yet, to do nothing would be to betray their own stated principles of unity and cosmic stewardship. Ultimately, the decision was unanimous. The Conclave of Unification would form an alliance with humanity. They would dispatch their most advanced scientific vessels, their most brilliant minds, their most robust resource fleets, to assist in the containment and eventual neutralization of the temporal anomaly. This was not merely an act of diplomacy. It was a profound shift in galactic geopolitics, a recognition that the universe was larger, more complex, and far more dangerous than they had ever truly understood. As the joint human conclave fleet began to assemble, its diverse ships gathering near the Sol system, a new sense of purpose permeated the galaxy. The initial fear of the unknown had given way to a shared destiny. Humanity, the enigmatic species from a previously uncharted nebula, had become an unexpected beacon, a catalyst for a unity far deeper than mere political alliance. Then, just as the preparations reached their zenith, a new signal emerged. It was faint, almost imperceptible, emanating from beyond the anomaly itself, from the very core of the galactic arm. It was not a message. It was a pattern, an intricate rhythmic pulse that echoed the specific temporal frequencies being generated by the Chronos containment array. It was a response, a resonant frequency. Kale, now integrated into the joint human conclave research team aboard the containment array, was the first to recognize its significance. He worked with Dr. Aris Thorne, a human temporal physicist of profound insight, their combined efforts focused on the strange new signal. "It's a reply," Thorne murmured, his eyes widening as the algorithms decoded the intricate pulses. "Not from within the anomaly, from beyond it, from the collapsing singularity itself." Kale's sensory clusters tingled with an electric apprehension. "A reply to us, to the containment array's frequency." "No," Thorne corrected, his voice hushed with awe. "To the precursor civilization. This frequency, it's a distress beacon, but it's been delayed by eons, trapped within the anomaly's temporal field, only now being released by the stabilization efforts of the array." The implications crashed over them with the force of a cosmic wave. The temporal anomaly was not just a destructive force, it was a temporal prison. And within that prison, for untold millennia, a lost civilization had been sending out a distress call. The precursor race was not entirely lost. Its echoes, its desperate plea, had finally broken through. The signal contained more than just distress. Buried within its complex layers, Kale and Thorne discovered a faint schematic diagram. It was a partial blueprint for a device, a hyperdimensional resonator, a mechanism designed not to destroy the anomaly but to restabilize it, to undo the collapse, to repair the tear in spacetime. This was the true twist, more profound than the discovery of humanity, more astonishing than the temporal anomaly itself. The Conclave had sought to contain a wound, humanity had sought to heal it, but the means to truly heal it had been trapped within the wound itself, a message from the past, unlocked by the present. The precursor race had foreseen the collapse, or perhaps had even triggered it inadvertently, and had left behind the solution, suspended in a temporal echo. Ambassador Reed, Praetor Varkos, and Leixar were immediately informed. The discovery sent ripples of exhilaration and profound responsibility throughout the nascent alliance. This was not merely about saving one system. It was about understanding a cosmic process, about potentially preventing similar events across the galaxy. They were not just a lost civilization, Reed mused, her gaze fixed on the holographic schematic of the resonator. They were teachers. They left us the knowledge to mend what was broken, to turn a catastrophe into a profound lesson. The work intensified. Human ingenuity combined with conclave technological expertise now focused on deciphering and constructing the hyperdimensional resonator. The task was immense, requiring resources and intellectual collaboration on a scale never before attempted. But the motivation was now higher than mere survival. It was about legacy, about cosmic redemption, about vengeance not against an enemy but against the very forces of cosmic decay. The unified fleet, no longer a display of potential aggression but a symbol of hope, now stretched across the Sol system, a testament to an unprecedented alliance. The initial fears, the political machinations, the initial arrogance of the conclave, all faded into insignificance before the enormity of the task. Humanity, once an enigmatic, underestimated species, had revealed itself to be not just capable of solving impossible problems, but of uniting disparate civilizations under a common and profoundly ethical banner. Kale, observing a human engineer and a Xylos scientist animatedly discussing a theoretical energy conduit, felt a profound sense of optimism. The universe was vast, full of dangers, but also full of wonders. And now, thanks to a small, tenacious species from a blue-green world, the galaxy had taken a profound step forward. Remove, Lost and Found had inadvertently removed the barriers between species, and in its disappearance had brought forth a truth far more significant than any territorial dispute. The future was no longer about individual species surviving. It was about universal understanding, about collective resilience, about a shared responsibility to confront the unknown, not with fear, but with knowledge, and with a unified, unyielding will. The vengeance was not of destruction, but of restoration. And the galaxy, forever changed, looked to the stars with new eyes, ready for the next great mystery together.